What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Games with R&D podcast. It's episode 6, and my name is Garrett Anderson, and with me, as always, we have Roberto and
Hello.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. It's not just a name, it's a way of life.
We're going to be talking about a bunch of different stuff today. We're going to, of course, be talking about what we've been playing. I know we've all been playing a lot of video games because we're on that lockdown quarantine life situation right now. And we're also going to be talking about game delays because The Last of Us 2 and The Ghost of Tsushima were delayed. A lot of information has rise and come to the surface around that. So we kind of want to get everybody's take on how we feel about game delays, how it affects us in our everyday life. And so let's just jump right into what we've been playing. I want to know what Roberto has been playing.
What I have been playing. Well, let's see now. I've been playing a lot of Borderlands 3. I picked it up on the PC finally on Steam. And I just been trying to bulldoze my way through the story with a friend. Because he's beaten the game multiple times already. I've beaten it on PlayStation, but oh my gosh, man. The game itself now, on PlayStation, you have to choose between how pretty the game looks and performance. I don't have to worry about that on PC. I have performance and the quality that the game should be, and how smooth and pretty the game looks like. Like I said, I'm just trying to get through the story just to be able to grind through Mayhem. And the nice thing right now is they have a lot of events going on because of the whole quarantine situation. And so it's been easy, very, very easy to get, exotic weapons right now in the game. And it's even easier if you're actually playing with another person. So as long as you're doing co-op, your percentage for loot gets so much better. And they also have another little. So they just released another expansion to the game, and they added another event. So there's 2 events going at the same time, and one's called Cartel, the Revenge of the Cartels. And you're just killing these guys that have more like a 80s feel with the neon blues and pinks and stuff. But it's just trying to get all the loot, trying to get all the skins while you can during this whole thing. And I believe the co-op event ends in 2 days, so I have a little bit of time to grind out some more loot on that.
So my question to you now is, do you have the fabled Yellow Cake COV rocket launcher that's supposed to be able to decimate Mayhem 10? Yeah, there's
Mayhem 10.
So there's there's an article that came out saying that in, I guess, the 10th level of Mayhem, there's a weapon called the Yellow Cake COV rocket launcher, and it can do about 40,000 plus base damage to any enemy.
Wow.
Yeah, to an enemy in Mayhem version 10. But in version 6, I think it was like 20,000 damage. Or there's other guns that can probably do up to $20,000 points of damage. But this one is breaking Mayhem 10 because it'll basically obliterate anything.
Well, that's good to know. Like I said, I'm still trying to get through the story. I'm almost done with the story, so I can actually unlock Mayhem. I do have a grenade that I'm very surprised, and it's only you can only unlock it right now for the Revenge of the Cartels, and it's a legendary grenade called I believe it's called Slapfish.
Okay.
And so it's an actual fish that you throw and it bobs, but it does a lot of damage.
Does it flop around like a fish out of water and just like cause damage as it's flopping?
It does, yeah. It bounces and everything. And the thing that sucks that it hurts you too. So if you get hit, like I get decimated by this grenade. Just one hit and I die. But that happens to a lot of the enemies too. They actually blow up. And you see like their blood and guts go everywhere. Because this grenade touching them, they pretty much die.
I had a couple questions. Did you pick it up? You said you picked it up on Steam. I saw it on the homepage of Steam. Is it on sale right now for $30? Is that right?
For the base game, I believe so. Let me check right now.
Yeah, and while you're playing that, when you said add-ons, was that all just free add-ons that they're just adding to the game, or is that something that you had to pay for?
So the events, yes. You can, you don't have to pay for those. The only thing you have to pay for would be like the 2 expansions that they released. Let's see. Page.
Yeah, because I was curious about that because the board. Perfect.
Yeah, it's on sale right now. It's $30 for the regular game, and then I wouldn't recommend the deluxe if you're gonna choose. It's gonna be between the regular game or the super deluxe that gives you the.
So did you get the season pass then?
I got the super deluxe one. Yeah. Okay. Just because I know I was gonna play this game anyways, but so. The 2 expansions, right? There's 5. So there's 4 DLCs, and you get the Butt Stallion pack too.
The Butt Stallion pack.
And so the first one is yes. So Moxie's Heist, Handsome Jackpot is the first one that they released a few months ago, and then Guns, Love, and Tentacles is the new one that came out a few weeks ago. But I haven't touched the DLC yet. Like I said, I'm just trying to beat the game with my buddy, and we're almost there. I want to say maybe 2 bosses left, and then I can do the Mayhem stuff. Because now the nice thing that I like is that once you beat the game, if you have any side quests to do or that you haven't finished, they actually level up with you, which is amazing. Because that's the one thing I didn't like about like 2 or 1, that once you beat the game, it stayed at that level that they were originally. So that was
what character are you playing?
On PlayStation, I was Maz, and then on PC right now, I'm playing as Flack.
What is Flack? You say what is Flack's big super? Like, what is their super?
So it depends on Flack. He has 3 different three different abilities, but he's the Beastmaster, so he can choose between a stag, the spider ants, and I keep forgetting the little monkey things. But you can actually use one of those 2 as your pets to help you fight. And depending on what skill tree you choose, they can help you heal faster, do extra damage, or what was the other one? Just gives you buffers and that kind of thing. It just depends on which one you choose when it comes to him. And then for special abilities, you can summon Rax to attack other people. You can become invisible. Or you can make a radiation like aura that can engulf your pet or yourself. It just depends on how you modify it and how you make your abilities work. Because now they changed it when it comes to your abilities, and then you have 2 special abilities you could do at the same time. So for him, it was his. He could summon a special creature, and he gets a special ability as well. So it varies on who you're using. I haven't touched Maz in a bit, but like I said, I used her on PlayStation, and she's the first person I chose because
I
have a thing for robots. I always like mechs and stuff. So when I saw that she had a giant robot, I'm like, sold. She's the one.
Is she super sexualized? I actually haven't seen video of her. No. Okay, that's nice.
No, she's not.
So, I mean, for me, the Borderlands series has had a lot of ups and downs. I played 1 quite a bit, but 2, I played hundreds of hours of Borderlands 2. I mean, I couldn't even tell you. I mean, I probably did a playthrough of every character. I played DLC, every piece of it, and by the time I was done, I had so many golden guns. I mean, everything was legendary. The Gunzerker was my dude. And Salvador. Yeah, that was my man. I loved his super. He just made all these crazy noises while just going ape over all these enemies. Just so much fun. But then the prequel, I tried it, and I want to say I played about 6 or 7 hours, and I don't know if it was just the introduction of the zero gravity where you're just kind of floating and hopping around. I don't know if it was the writing. It just did not capture me. So I've been kind of hesitant about picking up this installment. Where are you at with this game? Is this as good? Is it better? Where do you kind of put it in your rating of Borderlands games?
So let's see now. If we're ranking them, it's going to be 2, 3.
Okay, so you like it quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the story, but mechanically the game is really good. You feel great when you're playing the game. You get loot. Depending on if there's any events going on, or if you're playing with friends, or if you're just playing by yourself, because you can also just join random people's games and help them out, or you guys can do like the slaughter domes as well. And you can just squad up with random people. It just depends on how you want to play the game. The nice thing too is you can choose between competition or cooperative. So that's the one thing I wasn't really that wasn't. That was one of the things I wasn't too keen on 1 and 2, is that if you were playing with other people, you guys had to like debate, or whoever got it first got that weapon. And if it was a legendary, you wanted a legendary too, but only dropped one. Well, you kind of screwed on that. On 3, it does the whole destiny thing. So, if whenever you guys kill an enemy, if one gets a legendary, the other person gets a legendary too, but you won't know which one each gets, and you can't take it from another person.
Okay.
So that's always nice. Mm-hmm. But you have options. You can make it, classic. So if you liked it that other way, then
one of my favorite things about Borderlands 2 was, at least in the first 2, I don't know if the prequel had this because I wasn't really playing cooperatively with anyone through that, but on Borderlands 2 there was a gun glitch, and basically how it would work is if you had 2 people in the party, one person could drop all their legendaries on the ground, and then the same person who dropped all the legendaries on the ground would be able to hard exit, meaning not quit the game, but completely power down whatever they were playing on their Xbox 360 at the time, or their PC. And then what they would do is power back on and then log back in and join that party. And then they would still have all those legendaries in their inventory, and all their legendaries that are in the inventory that they dropped were still on the ground. So you could dupe guns, basically. You could duplicate anything. So any weapon that you did find, you could basically give to a friend that way. I don't know. Do you know if that's still a thing? Okay.
I believe it's still there. You just don't want to be the party owner. Or the party owner. You don't want to be the party owner, because then
sure. To me, that was always really cool, because I mean, it's all about collecting all the guns, right? I mean, it's a game about a bazillion guns. That whole game, Borderlands 3, had so much just kind of weird negativity leading up to it because of Randy Pitchford and all the weird kind of.
Oh, dude, there's still negativity for that game because of Randy Pitchford.
What a bunch of weird stuff. Did you guys ever hear about this USB flash drive that had some weird, like, magic porn found on it? And he left it at a restaurant for some server to find that just happened to be, like, a big fan of 2K games and Randy Pitchford. And then apparently he exposed it, and all this other stuff happened. There's just been a lot of... And then, not to mention that, but then I guess the work quality, as far as how they treat their employees over at 2K, kind of got exposed. Just a lot of not making you feel good feelings around that game leading up to it. But it doesn't sound like that's really affected your, enjoyment of the game, which is good.
I wouldn't say that it's not that. That's why. I mean, it, it's. I would say it's a
Mhm.
catch-22 kind of thing because I don't like him.
Right.
I'm not a fan of his. Um, but unfortunately, it's a private
Sure.
company. It's his company. Um, and the developers, when it comes to not him, they in order to be able to make money and that kind of thing, they have to work and do this stuff. And so if I don't buy, if you don't buy the game, you don't get
Correct.
paid for this kind of thing. But so it's just it kind of sucks because you can't really choose. You could choose to not buy the game, but then
Right.
it hurts the developers. But you can buy the game, but you're giving money to Randy. Um, so it's one of those things that kind of sucks. You can help them or you can't. And then the other thing that's happened too, I don't know if you've been seeing that, but the whole thing with Gearbox is that they pay a
That's because they promise a
lower
bonus.
rate than
Yes, I did
most.
see this. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Correct. And they just announced that the bonuses is going to be a lot lower than
What is the
what they were
reasoning
told
behind
that
that?
it
I,
was
I
going to
don't
be.
remember. What was their
Um,
reasoning? Is it because of Borderlands 3's sales? Is that what their reasoning is?
no, well,
That's
no,
what I
because
thought.
the
Yeah.
game still sold really well. It did extremely well. But what they're saying is like the time to the time to create the tech, the development time, and all this stuff. Just a lot of different things was why they said that it was going to be a lot lower than what they were originally were told. And when they were trying to get all these people to join the company after Borderlands 2, they were telling them, hey, um, come work with
You're
our
going to get these
company.
big
You're not going to get
bonuses.
paid as
Yeah.
much, but when you're going to get big bonuses because look at how much people got for Borderlands 2, and people bought houses
Wow.
with their bonus money and this kind of thing, and now they're getting told it's going to be a lot lower than that, you guys.
That's super
And
sad. It's super
let me
sad.
see.
Employees are promised something and then not to get given.
Well,
I
not
mean, that's
just
just
that,
wrong.
but yeah, and his what was the word? His
Reasoning.
what was it? His response to this whole thing was, if you don't like the bonuses, you
Wow.
can quit.
Oof. Randy Pitchford. Oof. I'm not feeling that man. That man is not a good person, I don't think. From what I've gathered. I mean, I don't know him personally, obviously, but I mean, if you promise your employees something and then you don't deliver and then you threaten them with losing their job after not giving them something that you promised, to me, it kind of puts you in the douchebag category.
Yep.
That's really sad. And I hope Gearbox continues. I hope the quality of games don't diminish because of this. Because honestly, who's going to go want to work for somebody who is going to go back on their promises and then make threats after breaking their promise? That's really sad.
Very much so.
That's crazy. Borderlands 3. Is there anything to add about Borderlands 3 that you'd like to share?
I mean, there's a plus, I guess, on this game now too. The other thing is that they put Borderlands Science. I don't know if you saw that. But what it is that you go inside Tannis's like office, and there's like this little arcade game you can play. Just think of like Bejeweled and those kind of puzzle games. But the nice thing about it is
No.
that it's actually like DNA sequences, and so you're trying to make it so because computers will do all the computer sequencing work, but there's some parts that it still can't fix, and so it requires people to actually do that work. Well, I guess Gearbox teamed up and made this little game, and so it's millions of puzzles that people can do, and you get points, you get all this stuff, you can get buffs and that kind of thing, and some skins and whatnots. But it actually helps because what it does is that it'll give you these puzzles.
Mhm.
You try to solve them, and from there, they import them, and those it fixes some of the problems or some of the yeah the mistakes that the computers did. And so I guess it's helping when it comes to that kind of thing. And I guess it's some of that sequences are some of the COVID sequences that people are trying to do. And so
right, that's super cool.
that's a plus, but it's just one of those things that you just start questioning all the stuff that's going on with this company.
Right on. That's Borderlands 3. Thank you so much for all that good information. Dantastic.
Yeah.
What have you been playing?
I'm still playing Final Fantasy XIV. However, I have taken some time to play other games. PlayStation Network has released a few games that you can download for free, one of them being Pac-Man Champion Edition 2.
Nice.
I played the original Pac-Man Champion Edition to death. I love it because it's fast-paced. It's not your typical Pac-Man game, but it is your typical Pac-Man game because you're trying to collect all the dots and you're trying to defeat the ghosts. But there's not 4, there's 100. It is super fast-paced, super fun. I love it. And the second one adds a few more elements to the game that wasn't there in the first and makes it even more fun. And there's a lot more modes, and you can customize your maze to be different colors. You can change the background music. You can actually start with a different speed. You can start at the original speed at the really slow and then go all the way up as you progress through these mazes. Or you could just start at the max, or not max speed, but like half speed, which is about 20 to 40. And you start off faster, and then you just get faster and faster and faster. But there's a point where it's too fast, and you're not hitting the patterns of the maze, and then you die. And then, of course, it lowers your speed whenever you die. The first one had bullet time, which, if you remember bullet time, it's when you get close to an enemy, it actually slows it down so that it gives you more reaction time. They don't have bullet time anymore in the second one. I know, it sucks because it was kind of fun. They now have, if you touch a ghost 2 times, 3 times, it'll actually get angry, and when it's angry is when it actually defeats you. So it kind of gives you like a little window, where you can hit the ghost in rapid succession. You have to hit it 3 times in order for it to become angry, and you'll know it's angry because it has the starburst effect behind it, and it changes its facial expression to "I'm angry," and then it'll chase you, and it's a lot faster, and then you finally lose your life when it hits you, which is really cool. They added ghost trains, so when you're going, you have one ghost following you, but behind that ghost is a train of increasing smaller ghosts, and it's pretty fun because you could have 100, 200 ghosts in this chain, and when you finally eat a power pellet and eat it, you eat everybody in the chain. Nice. And I mean, it's fast paced. It's super, super fun. I dig this game so much. Play it when I get tired of raiding in Final Fantasy XIV, or when I get tired of doing something, I'm bored. I'm like, okay, you know what? I just need to stop from this intense story. Let me just play something a little mindless right now. Let me play some Pac-Man. So Pac-Man Champion Edition 2 is what I've been playing. I also downloaded the Nathan Drake collection because they gave that away for free on the PlayStation Network. So I got that.
That's incredible. That's incredible that they're giving that away.
It is because, okay, I'm one of the few people that have never played any of the Uncharted games.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have Uncharted 4. I haven't even opened it yet. Okay. It's still sitting in wrapper because literally 2 days before they announced it, I was contemplating on going and ordering from Best Buy. I haven't sent it to my house to order the Nathan Drake collection. It was only $20. I was like, hey, $20, 3 games. That's pretty cool, right? No problem. I was like, but I don't want it. I don't know. Something stopped me from doing it. And then I read an article 2 days later. Oh, hey, the Nathan Drake collection is going to be free on the PlayStation Network starting on this day. I'm like, well, okay. That's a good thing I didn't buy it.
No brainer.
Yeah, it's a good thing I didn't buy it. So I downloaded it. Still have not played that yet. But
It's okay.
I plan to. Kind of the same thing with like the BioShock collection. Like I played BioShock Infinite, but that's it. I never played the first one or the second one.
Wow.
Yeah. I want to, but Final Fantasy is taking up my life right now. I finally hit the max level at 80.
Okay.
I finally reached the end of the storyline from the newest expansion, which is a emotional roller coaster because there are times when you are laughing because the story is so silly and pretty funny. And then there's other times where you're just so sad and you're like, oh my God, I literally shed a tear a couple of times during the last story. It was that good because you really do get invested in these characters that are following you.
Sure, absolutely. After that much time, you should.
And they've even the side quests, have cutscenes and storylines, and some of them are very lighthearted and funny and silly, and other ones are, really dark and just really emotionally like, oh my gosh, very intense. Like one good example would be the Pixies. The Pixies have, lighthearted quests and they're funny and, they're like, oh, because they just want to play. All the Pixies want to do is play and, have fun and play tricks on people, which is, Pixies, fairies, that's good. But then you go into, like the dwarves and they're like, no, we have to do this for honor and da-da-da. I'm like, So those two games, those are what I have been playing this time.
That's awesome, man. I'm so excited to hear what you think about the Uncharted series and also the BioShock series, because you said you hadn't played either of those. If you could wipe my memory, BioShock, the original, would probably be like, yes, I want to play that game, wipe my memory, because there is a couple plot twists in that for the time, as far as storytelling goes, was life-changing.
Oh, nice.
Like, I do strongly feel like BioShock at the time 100% had one of the best narratives in first-person shooters. Like, right up there with Half-Life 2 at the time. Now we've had games like Titanfall 2 and other first-person shooters that have told a really good story as well. But for the time, yeah, I mean, BioShock, hands down, is some of the best writing in video games ever. And also, the Uncharted series, I mean, what a roller coaster. Like, that really does display to me what a AAA franchise can be. I mean, it really doesn't get much more action blockbuster than the Uncharted series. And I would love you to take that roller coaster and just to be able to kick it with, like, Drake, Elena, and Sully again. Like I'm envious that you get to go on those characters' adventures because, wow, what a treat. I'm not sure how Drake's Fortune, which I believe is the first one. Roberto, can you back me up on that? Is Drake Fortune the first one? I don't know how that one might hold up.
Yes.
That one might be a little rough, just visually, because, I mean, that was like early PS3, if not a PS3 launch title. I might be wrong on that, but if not, at least launch window. But either way, 2 is probably the best in my opinion. There are a couple scenes in Uncharted 2 that will, like, forever be etched in my mind. When I first saw them, I was like, video games aren't going to get better than this. There were definitely, like, moments in that game where I was like, literally, like, this is the epitome of video games. And the reason why I play them. So lucky you for being able to experience that for free as well. And the fact that you have Uncharted 4, which is also an amazing video game.
Right, yeah.
The conclusion of that game, which obviously I won't spoil, is just it's going to definitely tug on your heartstrings, especially after spending 4 full games with those characters. Oh, man. I'm super envious of you right now. You're lucky.
I know you. I am looking forward to playing these games only because I've heard so much good stuff about these games, and the little that I've seen of these games, it looks amazing. Because the footage I've seen is from 2 and 3, That's pretty much it. But yeah, I've heard so much good stuff about these, and I am looking forward to playing them a lot.
I really. Oh, go ahead.
So just to clarify,
Yes.
Yes, it's Drake's Fortune is the first one. It
I
came
knew
out
it was
a year
like pretty close
after
within there, and that was a
PS3 was released.
10-year life cycle on that console, so I got pretty close. That's great. In fact, I want you to play at least one of those games, Dan, and then next episode you have to talk to me about Uncharted or BioShock. I demand it. You don't get a choice in the matter. I'm going to disconnect your Final Fantasy login just for at least a day so you can play that and talk to me about it. Okay, it's happening. Consider it
Just
done.
take his USB.
All right, so that brings it to me and what I have been playing. I am really enjoying a game called Devil May Cry 5. And it's actually kind of surprising because, you know, the Devil May Cry series has been around a long time, and I have dabbled in the other games, and it never really grabbed me. I don't know if it was the gameplay itself, the writing, the look visually. It just never seemed to put its hooks into me other than DMC. So I want to clarify. This is actually the 6th game in the series, even though it's called Devil May Cry 5, because they had a standalone game called just DMC. Those letters, and I played that through, and I did enjoy it, but at the time it was kind of like, I'm just playing this to play this because I have nothing else to play. I'm sure you've all had video games like that where you're just kind of like mind-numbingly just smashing buttons, and honestly I don't even remember anything about it other than that I finished the game and I didn't hate it. But I am absolutely loving Devil May Cry 5. First of all, I picked it up on Fanatical.com for about $15. They had a star deal, but I regularly see it on there for under 20. So like for around $18 and $17.50. And I got to say, for that price tag, this game is fantastic. And even if you were paying $60 for this game, I'd still be okay. But even at this price tag now, I think it's even better. I played it on PC, of course, got a Steam key. And it's, you know, it's developed and published by Capcom. So completely in-house, and it was released in March of 2019. And when it released in March of 2019, it was actually received really well. I mean, IGN gave it a 9.5. All these other outlets were giving it between 8 and 10. And it really kind of captured my attention. And that's why I ended up adding it to my wish list on Steam, because everybody was raving like, oh, hey, they've revamped the entire gameplay. They've changed a lot of things. And one of the big reasons why I wanted to play it was actually developed with the RE engine, the same engine that they made Resident Evil 7 and the RE2 remake and RE3 remake with. And if you're familiar with that engine, they kind of designed that engine to make facial features and animations and details pop. And oh boy, let me tell you, like the hair, the facial description and detail on these people in this game are just photorealistic. Like, I feel like every generation an engine is developed like this, where you look at a character in a game and you're like, it's not going to look better than this. You guys can't make it look better, but you know what? They keep on doing it. So the RE engine is absolutely fantastic. If you've played, you know, the Resident Evil 2 remake or RE7, you know what I'm talking about. Like, graphically, this game is just off the hook. The cutscenes are incredible. I can't even describe. My eyes are popping out of my socket during cutscenes in this game. What I'll say, the story is a little batshit crazy, excuse my language. It's extremely over the top. There's no way I could spoil the story for this for you guys, as far as listeners and you guys are concerned, because I can't even tell you what's happening. Like, literally, the story is so over the top crazy at this point that me even explaining to you what's happening narratively, I can't. Even though I'm paying attention, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but the writing is cheesy in a good way. And what I mean by that is I feel like every one of the characters are consistently kind of blurting out these one-liners, but it doesn't feel forced or cheesy in some kind of ways. Even like how some kind of like times, even in Borderlands, I'm going to just use that as an example. Sometimes they tell these jokes and they just don't hit. You know what I mean? Everything in this game makes me laugh. Like, because I think it knows that it's trying to be a B action movie. Like, these characters realize that this situation is completely ridiculous, and so it doesn't really matter. You play as 3 different characters throughout the game. So there are actually 4 total characters that really stand out to me. One of them is honestly Dante. Dante's been pretty much the main focus of the series the whole way through. The second character is Nero, who is younger than Dante. He's a little bit more scrappy. He's got more of an attitude. He's younger. He's like, hey, I'm just like this young punk kid who doesn't care about anything. Then there's a new character to the series, and his name is V, and he is emo as all hell. He is straight out of a Nine Inch Nails video. He basically is, I'm depressed, I'm black, I've got black hair, I'm basically a little bit different. He doesn't have so much of a hardcore attitude as Nero and Dante does. And then the fourth character, who I'm absolutely in love with, she's an NPC, and her name is Nico, and she is written perfectly. Oh my gosh, she has gone to the list of my top 10 NPCs of all time. Whoever voice acted Nico, I am in love with, because they nailed not only the voice acting, but if they actually used her visually, I can't think of a better shopkeeper. And I'll talk a little bit more about the gameplay and get back to these characters and, to be more specific about their abilities and stuff. But, if I'm going to basically break down the game as far as gameplay goes, it's a hack and slash. However, it really reminds me of a fighting games in a lot of ways, and it's because of the different combat styles and combos that each of these characters have. And what I mean by that, in Street Fighter, right? If you're playing as Ryu, you end up, you want to memorize the Hadouken and all your super uppercuts and all the different trick moves, and this is no different. There are literally tons of combos to memorize, and when you execute them in succession, it just feels really good. You can get these combos where you're launching these people in the air and doing 30, 40, 50 hits in succession, and it's just amazing when you are able to actually pull it off. And to some people that might be a little intimidating. What I'll say about that is, if you're not great at combos, there are different difficulty options throughout the game that will make those combos easier. In fact, if you go to the easiest mode, it will literally just perform these combos for you. However, I don't recommend doing that because obviously it takes away a lot of the thrill of the game. What's kind of crazy about it is you switch between these characters, and all the combos and the way that these characters fight are so different. So, for instance, Nero is the character you begin with, and he's very standard. He has a big, long, huge sword, and he's got a single firearm, and he's pretty straightforward. Any third-person action-adventure game, think Nero, right? Dante is kind of a little bit more complicated. So Dante has the ability to switch up his weapons, meaning he could either have dual pistols or a shotgun, or he could have a giant sword, or he can straight up use his fists. So you can switch between that depending upon how close you are to your enemy. And on top of that, there are 4 different stances. So think Kung Fu, right? Like a defensive stance, an aggressive stance. And you can switch drunken style, ninja style, right? And as you're switching between these stances and switching in between your weapons, man, all the combos change. So they're just, for Dante, it's like this unlimited amount of possibilities as far as executing damage upon your enemies. And it's just rad. It's absolutely rad when you're able to kind of just bust these things out. V, the character who I told you is more of an emo, he is crazy. Probably one of the most unique things I've seen in a game like this as far as hack and slash in quite some time. You know how V kills you? He reads a book and he summons these creatures. I know this is crazy. Imagine just frantic. 1,000 things are happening on the screen at once. And here's your character with a book open. And as his book's open, he summons animals. He summons a crow. And the crow is more of like a long distance damage dealer. meaning he just flies in and then flies back. And then he summons like this giant leopard or a cheetah. I'm not quite sure what kind of cat it is. It's a black cat, maybe a panther. And it's more of like your up close and personal damage. And you could summon both of them. And it's crazy because you're walking through all this chaos. Here's this crazy giant bird flying through while there's giant panther swatting in front of you. And here's your dude. He's just reading a book. It is fucking crazy. I can't even explain. Like, the way that it all plays out in front of you on screen is something that I've just never really seen in video games. It's just so creative. It's so creative that Capcom created this fighting style for this character. One interesting thing too is there are super moves, and all three of the players have a super move. So Nero, he just straight up revs up his sword like a chainsaw and it catches on fire, dealing like massive damage. And he also has a prosthetic arm. He lost his arm to some demon in some other previous game, I guess. That I don't know if that's a spoiler. If it is, I'm sorry. Like I said, the story is so crazy, I don't even know why that matters. Anyway, this prosthetic arm can do all kinds of things. It turns into a giant wheeling blade of death. It turns into a giant nuclear explosion. There are different prosthetic arms that you can find that will unleash these super. Dante's is a little crazier. Dante just straight up turns into this massive demon with huge demon armor, and he just gets huge and buff and yoked, Arnold Schwarzenegger size muscles, and just decimates everything, which is nuts. V, the emo kid, he straight up calls down something called the Nightmare. And you guys ever play Titanfall?
Yep.
Matt, you know when you called your Titan down and it literally just launched from and just smashed down and you got in it? This is what he calls down. It's called the Nightmare. It's this giant Godzilla-sized monster that he just calls into battle, and it just decimates everything for him. And then, you know, when you're V, you can now have up to 3 different creatures on the ground fighting for you. This giant bird, this freaking panther, and this giant Nightmare Godzilla creature. And all of this craziness, sometimes there's like 6 enemies on the screen, plus all of this. It's like, oh my god, do not take acid and play this game because you will overdose and die because of the visuals. I can't even explain how over the top it is. It's got a crazy upgrade and skill unlock system. So as you're traveling throughout the world, you're collecting red orbs. Red orbs are your currency in this game. And you upgrade yourself and unlock new skills by talking to Nico, who is the crazy chick who I was talking about. So she drives this van, right? Like, think about like a giant van. And literally, you call her, and she comes flying in over rooftops out of nowhere, smashes in front of you, and she says in this sassy, sexy voice, and goes, "How you doing, honey? You need something from me?" And I'm like, oh my god, you are the craziest, awesomest chick I've ever seen in my life. You go in her van, and you upgrade.
Okay, so...
Yes.
Sorry, so you're talking about Nico. She's actually she's voice acted by Faye Kingsley. Okay. Who's Australian. She's also voice acted in Wolfenstein, Guardians of the Galaxy. She played Hala. She was in Halo Wars. She was in Mirror's Edge as Faith. And she's also been in a few episodes of DC's Legend of Tomorrow.
Oh, wow. So,
the TV show.
So she's a professional, and it shows in this game. Like, she just nailed it as far as acting-wise goes. There are so many skills to unlock, my dudes. So many skills. There's your sword skills, there's your firearm skills, there's your just straight up abilities, everything from running faster to double jumping to a bazillion different combos. It's unlimited. And you can unlock skills for all 3 of those characters, right? Dante, Nero, and V. You can choose to hold on to that currency till you find the character that you want to upgrade, but I've just been kind of upgrading across the board, and I haven't even unlocked, I'd say, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm on mission 12 or 13, and I feel like just from the pace of the game, I'm not 100%, but I feel like I'm over halfway. There's no way I'm unlocking all this stuff. There is no way. And I'm playing as thoroughly as I can. So I'm obviously in love with the game. On top of all this, as far as the gameplay and the visuals being amazing, holy cow, this music slaps. whoever decided to put this soundtrack together, it is insane. It's full of just hardcore techno, industrial metal, just beautiful symphony style music when it's trying to be emotional, which I think it's funny when it does. But anyway, it just hits it. The composer is Kota Suzuki. I hope I'm not butchering that name. Probably am, but shout out to that man, because wow, I'm absolutely in love with it. There is one thing that I will say I dislike about the game. In my biggest dislike is the world itself. The game is set in London, but it might as well be set anywhere because it's extremely linear and the whole city is just decimated. It's just decimated apocalyptic city filled with demons. It is very cut and paste, copy and paste, I should say. Like, literally, you could throw this world away and I will never remember it. It is extremely bland. It's just a lot of darks, blacks, and grays, very little color. And there's really not much reason to explore because, like I said, it is so linear. I'm just really not impressed. I feel like if this game had better level design, it would be up there. It would shoot it even higher as far as where it's at in my like all-time favorites list. But because the world is so boring and just visually not appealing, it does take away from it a little bit for me, but definitely not enough for me to say like the positives so outweigh the negative, the one negative I have on it. And I'm in love with Devil May Cry 5. Go play it. It's amazing. Do you guys have any questions about Devil May Cry 5?
No, but I have loved the Devil May Cry series.
Cool.
From the beginning, yeah. It was. I remember playing the very first one when it came out and having to fight. I think it was the first boss, which was a giant spider that was made of lava,
right,
or something. I don't remember.
Yeah,
but
I think I got into Devil May Cry starting with 3. 3. But I mean,
yeah, but you know what?
When you say the game is over the top
wasn't
ridiculous
that way in the
cheesy,
very,
like
very
that's
beginning.
Devil May Cry for you.
In the very, very beginning, the first Devil May Cry game, if I remember correctly, actually was more gothic and less over the top. Yeah. Yes, it was still cheesy, but not on the cheesy scale that we know now.
Oh yeah, no, but it was still cheesy.
Yeah, but still, yeah, the series has only gotten better.
Yeah. Just a couple of facts. This one has done better financially than any other game in the series. It sold 3 million copies within the first year. So it is 100% their best-selling game in the franchise, for sure. I mean, it has blown the expectation of Capcom, and I guarantee there'll be a Devil May Cry 6. There's no way that they don't make another game.
I mean, the DMC anime was pretty good, too.
Yeah, they made an anime on it, and also they actually made a manga. There's a manga Devil May Cry series, and there's also a couple of novels, I want to say, light novels that are out there available to you if you're really into it. I don't think I'm going to go read any of that, after this. I think once I play this, it'll kind of go in my, my memory bank as being a really great game. But yeah, I also don't think I'd go back, because I just think that this game is so different from the others as far as gameplay-wise, that I don't ever see myself returning. Well, that's all it. That's what we've been playing. A lot of good games. Definitely check them out. We're going to jump into a topic, and, a lot of people have strong opinions about this. Because of the coronavirus, obviously a lot of games have been delayed. A lot of things have halted as far as production and development. And just recently, a new release date for The Last of Us 2 and The Ghost of Tsushima has been released. Roberto, what are those dates, and how do you feel about these delays?
Let's see now. Last of Us, what is June 17th, or sorry, June 19th, and Ghost of Tsushima is July 19th. How do I feel about them? I mean, I'm happy that the games are getting released this year. I understand why Ghost of Tsushima got pushed back a month, because they're trying to give more time for Last of Us.
Right.
and it sounds like they really want Last of Us to come out before Ghost of Tsushima. So, that's what they're trying to go for. I think maybe it might not be the best time to release Last of Us, but that's just me. And they kind of were forced to now because of the whole release of some of the
right.
cutscenes.
It's really weird
of the
to
game
me because there's so much going on behind these delays. For one of the weirdest things and one of the most unfortunate things for PlayStation is these are exclusives, and not just exclusives. These are AAA exclusives for them. And, right out of the get-go, whether or not we care or not, there is a console war happening, right? And Microsoft has kind of already come out swinging, and a lot of people are saying they're already winning. Now, whether or not you believe that or not is one thing, but when two of your biggest releases are kind of delayed, even though these are going to be available on the PlayStation 4, not the PlayStation 5, it does kind of give you a black eye going into the next console. And, I will say, obviously, these developers need to make money. And I think that, when you're talking about The Last of Us 2, The Last of Us is one of the most praised games of the last generation, and even of this generation with the remake, for that matter. If you can't make physical sales as well as digital sales, I don't think we're going to be seeing these AAA games anymore. So they have to be able to sell these games everywhere to everyone who wants them, digitally and physically, in order to be profitable. Because if these things aren't profitable, obviously they're not going to be made. Where are you at with Dantastic? Dantastic, tell me about delays and how it's affected you ever in your life, or do you care?
Honestly, I do, but I don't care about delays because of the reasoning behind the delay. Right. If a game is being delayed because it's not ready yet, because they wanted to fix something before it came out, because of some kind of something that would have made the game horrible, I'm all for it. Make the game good and release it when it's ready. Don't send me some half-ass piece of shit game, sorry for my language, and then say, oh, we're just going to patch it later, and then, patch it a year and a half later when it's already too late. Nobody cares about the game.
Right.
If you're delaying it for a good reason, then I am all for it. If you're doing it just to do it because of some controversy that happened with somebody that might work there or anything, then whatever. Nah, I don't really like that. What was it? Yeah, so The Last of Us is being delayed. I actually don't know why it's being delayed. Sorry. Somebody enlighten me.
So I've heard a couple different things. I've heard one of the biggest issues is they're worried that they're not going to be able to make their money back. And that's totally a good reason to delay a game, especially when those people over at think about how many years of their lives those people at Naughty Dog have spent making The Last of Us 2. And our country is a great country, but our internet isn't that great. And unfortunately, not everybody has jumped on the all-digital bandwagon, which is fine. And the fact that they can't get these games into people's hands because of the marketing and the production it takes to get those discs printed, the production it takes to get those things to people's shelves, the fact that places like GameStop aren't open to give those games to those people who want to play them. I mean...
Okay, but I argue, at that point, okay, with this whole crisis and everybody putting, staying at home, shelter in place, there are retailers that still either have other options for you to pick up your stuff. You can either just do contactless curbside pickup, or like with GameStop or Best Buy or Target, they can ship it to you.
Right.
So they'll have it sent to your mailbox. Boom, you pick it up. Yeah, you might get it a day or two later than when it was, but you're still getting it. and you're still getting a physical copy of your game if you're not a digital person. Now, I don't care if it's digital or physical. There are certain games that I want to have physical. I want to be able to hold that game. Plus, when I get tired of it, I can just trade it back in.
Dan, I'm surprised that you don't like it physical. You seem like a physical man.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
no,
Dan
I do like
is
a physical.
fantastic. He likes things physical. I'm pretty sure. No, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I had to throw that in.
But yeah, no, but it was really okay. I do like physical games, but there are certain things that I want to have digital. And okay, for that excuse right there, where they're not sure they're able to get it into the consumers' hands and sell enough copies, I think that's a bullshit reason. Now, yeah, the Ghost of Tsushima, they're want to give time and let another game come through, and okay, like that's kind of respectable. You don't want to oversaturate the market with too many really awesome games, because then somebody's gonna because then they're going to get thrown to the wayside, and then it won't perform and it won't make the money. So in that sense, yeah, that's all fine and good. And in the end, it's a company. They're trying to make their money. They're looking out for their bottom line. That's understandable, but you also have to remember, hey, these people will buy it regardless of the current situation or not. Look at Final Fantasy VII Remake. We waited over 15 years for the Final Fantasy VII Remake to happen. It finally dropped. Granted, not the entire thing, but it still dropped. Okay. How many copies have sold already since it came out? It says here 3.5 million copies digitally and physically in the first 3 days it launched. And this is during the COVID crisis.
Yeah.
If a game is good enough, it will sell. And The Last of Us 2 is a game that is good enough, hopefully, and it will sell.
Roberto, do you know off the top of your head, did Naughty Dog say anything else as far as reasonings for delay? I mean, did they say any sort of technical issues, or was it 100% because of the virus, basically?
Well, most of it is because of the virus. They had to do work remotely to actually
that's understandable.
Continue working on the game itself. Let's see now. What's wrong with my phone? Mostly it's because of that, but just to be able to get everything done on time and that kind of thing. Because I mean, I'm not surprised that a lot, especially with big companies, trying to do all the remote work.
Right. It's a big studio too.
Not everybody will have access to like dev kits and that kind of thing. And big studio. And then I don't know if they, before the whole thing, if they were doing a remote work at all. Because I know that a few of them were having that problem. I mean, for example, I'll just bring up Final Fantasy XIV. I know that they just recently did an update, but they're saying that's the next one got pushed back because not only of the COVID, but because of they're still not able to get most of their stuff done when it comes to like different languages, French, Italian, and that kind of thing.
Oh, that's going to be a nice big update. That one's being pushed
the voice actors and that kind of stuff. And so that it's just it depends on what's happening with that studio and that kind of thing. Also the other stuff was about crunch time.
That's nice.
They're trying to they pushed it back a little just so they have more time to work on it, and so crunch wouldn't be as bad. But there's stuff going on that one too. Just because like I brought it up a little bit ago. A disgruntled employee, leaked some of the actual story of the game.
Oh, really? So this disgruntled employee released the spoilers
because of crunch
the
and
game
some other
because
stuff.
They felt like they were being overworked. Wow. Holy cow. Well, I mean, that's really sad. I hate to know that there's, obviously we've always heard about crunch in video games, and that's another topic for another time for sure. But yeah, that's really sad. I don't really feel like anybody should ever be overworked for a video game. That's how I feel about that. There are things for us to enjoy, but if it means that a person cannot be with their family or get adequate amounts of sleep, rest, and time away from their job, I can't support that. I love video games very much, but I will never put another person's family before, like, my own entertainment. That's ridiculous. One thing is funny, Ghost of Tsushima, it might be extremely well polished, because if it's making room for The Last of Us just for the sake of giving The Last of Us 2 more room, that just gives them more and more time to make polish and to work on bugs and just to make the game better. I wonder if Ghost of Tsushima even needed to be pushed back, or if 100% they just wanted to give The Last of Us 2 more room. That's going to be really interesting to see. Let me ask you guys this. Which one are you more looking forward to? Dantastic, you go first.
Okay.
Okay.
The Last of Us 2. Yeah, The Last of Us 2. I played the first one. It was amazing. Even multiplayer is still going very, very strong. I'm not a big multiplayer guy, but multiplayer in The Last of Us is actually kind of fun.
Yeah. How about you, Roberto?
I mean, Last of Us it's going to be one of those games that just is a benchmark of what, what we can do now in the industry. But I mean, for me personally, I'm more excited for Ghost of Tsushima just because I am a Sucker Punch fan, and they've made the Infamous games, and I've loved the Infamous games. And this is, they're trying out something new.
Right.
Kind of like what Insomniac did with Sunset Overdrive on the Xbox side. And so, maybe after this one, they'll get something interesting and fun and, just blow it out of the water kind of thing. I think this is more like what's that word?
Like a sleeper hit.
I wouldn't say underdog, but people don't really... Huh? Thank you. Yes, sleeper. That's what I'm looking for. And
let me tell you about Shogun Assassin.
I mean, I've always been into samurai movies.
Shogun Assassin is incredible.
I'm definitely down for that one.
So okay, I love Sucker Punch. The Infamous game series is amazing gameplay wise. I gave Sunset Overdrive a shot just recently on Xbox Game Pass. I don't like that game. I think that game is trying to be two-way, edgy 90s cool for me. Like the whole aesthetic, and I think the traversal was really good. But I wasn't feeling... Its attitude doesn't hold up.
I mean,
obviously,
at its time, I enjoyed it. I
Spider-Man's
say
incredible.
That, it didn't age. It definitely didn't age well.
Better company to make, a game around Spider-Man than them. But, Sucker Punch has been great. And, I feel like maybe The Last of Us for me, because The Last of Us, its ending, the story it was telling, I feel like I don't know how they can top it, but if some way they can, I mean, it's going to be some of the best writing in games. If they can make a story that's even better than the original Last of Us, I don't even know how that's possible, but if they do pull it off, I mean, that's going to be a game for the decades. You know what I mean? People will talk about it in 20, 30 years as being, some of the best writing that's ever happened. And I think I just realized I mixed up my developers. Sucker Punch and Insomniac are two different game companies, and now I feel like a dumbass. And I realized I just Spider-Man, because Spider-Man was not made by Sucker Punch. I'm a dummy.
Yep.
I know.
Why?
And I'm taking it back. So if you're listening out there, sorry.
No,
a lot of video game companies out there.
No, I thought that's what you were going
Well, you know
for.
what, guys?
Sorry.
I think that's a podcast. And I want to say thank you very much for making it this far into the show. And if you have, definitely check out our Facebook page. Give us a like over there. Find us on all of the podcast streaming services like Apple Podcasts, Anchor, all of the good streaming sites that you already love and listen to. My name's Garrett Anderson, and thank you for listening to the Games with R&D podcast. Love you.
We love you too.
Are we done? We're done. We're done, right?
Bye.
Okay, good.